Aiksquale, Iquaniselam Nala, Tenaquale. I'll call the meeting to order, and it's with great respect and humility that we acknowledge and honor the lands of the Snuneymuxw people. The Snuneymuxw people maintain their profound, unique, and spiritual connection to the land through ageless traditions, teachings, stewardship, and expressions of reciprocity. We don't have any items to transfer from open agenda this evening. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes in order? See any? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Mark, seconded by Chantel. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, that the minutes from the regular Board of Education meeting held on February 28th, 2024 be adopted. Do I have a mover? Naomi and Tom. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to the Section 72.3 report. That the Section 72.3 report from the closed Board of Education meeting on February 28th, 2023 be received. Do we have a mover? Chantel, seconded by Liana. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to item 9, announcements and reminders. We have statutory holidays on March 29th and April 1st. Education Committee meeting on April the 3rd. We have our Business Committee on April the 10th, followed by the Board of Education on April 24th, and non-instructional day on April 29th, 2024. Moving on to presentations, the exciting part of the meeting this evening. I'll ask Jeff and his colleague to please come on up, and we'll have a presentation on Let's Build Public Childcare. So you have 10 minutes, Jeff.
Hi, thank you all. Thanks for allowing us to give this presentation. I'm Jeffrey Tannen, president of CUPE 606. Just before I introduce Tuesday, I'll just give you a little bit more about CUPE. 606, we have 3 separate units of almost 1,000 workers, but the biggest by far is school district of our units. We fall under the umbrella of QPBC, which has about 100,000 members, and QB National, which has about 740,000 members. Both are respectively the biggest in BC and in Canada. Actually, Tuesday gave you a fun fact that 1 in 50 people in Canada are, is it Canada or BC? In BC, 1 in 50 people in BC are actually CUPE members. So anyways, I just want to tell you all that because that CUPE is much more than a big organization. Like we're everywhere, we're parents. I mean, I myself am a parent and student at Basement Primary School. So CUPE believes in public childcare, and this is what we're here to talk to you about. I've talked to you mostly privately or in groups on committees. I figure you're probably tired of hearing my voice talk about it. So calling Tuesday Andrich from CUPE National. Well, for a couple of reasons. I think it'll be good for you guys to hear a fresh voice on it. And she's way smarter on this topic than I am. So I'd like to talk about Tuesday.
So much, Jeff. Thank you so much for finding the time for us. So I'm going to start off with a bit of background. Most of the stuff you've probably heard before in various forums. You know, just good to give us a little bit of background and a reminder why we're doing these things and why these things matter. Okay? So. Okay, so too many families lack childcare services where and when they need it. The current market-based system has resulted in an inadequate childcare spaces and, of course, an unfair distribution of childcare services. Most existing before and after school care programs are located in larger urban areas. Even with recent investment, BC still only has space for 20% of children, which means there are tens of thousands of childcare spaces needed across the province to meet demand. Quality childcare does remain out of reach for many families. This is due to high fees and lack of access to services. The move towards $10 a day childcare is only increasing demand for these spaces as well. More and more families can't afford care with $10 a day care, but that means that we can expect demand to increase for some time yet. And of course, wait lists for care are extremely long. Many families are forced to apply to multiple care providers year after year, and then they're waiting years on wait lists. Some of their kids are even aging out before they can access. And sometimes there's waitlist fees that they have to pay, and it doesn't mean that they're guaranteed access. Also, families who are of Indigenous identity, visible minority status, immigrant status, and those who are rural residents, they're all underrepresented in before and after school care programs. This is statistics that we've gathered year over year for the past couple decades. So creating secure and reliable before and after school care programs, it's an equity issue, right? And of course, it's going to support community growth for all community members. Also, school districts are best positioned to provide dignified and accessible care to children with diverse abilities. Many of these children experience barriers when attempting to access care programming that is operated by private and nonprofit organizations. And because of this immediate need for childcare spaces, CUPE members are proposing a public option for before and after school care that's operated by school districts. So there are potentially thousands of cost-effective spaces across BC for before and after school care that can be quickly utilized by using existing school facilities and staff. The public school system is well known for delivering high quality, accessible, and equitable services that children and parents rely on. The Ministry of Education and Childcare, as you know, has changed the School Act to allow school districts to implement before and after school care, and moving towards a public childcare option aligns with the government's objective of integrated childcare within BC. So school districts have the proven track record of providing quality, consistent, and education-focused care for children throughout the school day. They provide safe and accessible spaces for children. Kids will benefit from reduced transitions, coordination of care and learning, and parents can be confident that their kids will be cared for by knowledgeable and qualified school district staff in safe and regulated facilities. An integrated model of childcare also has the additional advantage of increasing recruitment and retention for ECEs and EAs who would have the option of extending their regular school day to provide before and after school care. And using ministry funds for childcare programming delivered by the school district results in increased investment into the existing school system. Adding more spaces in the school district will help provide much needed before and after school care to families in the community that aren't currently being serviced. And this is particularly helpful for more rural areas of So you're likely familiar with the $10 a day plan, which provides a roadmap to build childcare system that provides quality licensed childcare spaces for every child that needs it. Currently, we are in phase 2 of this plan, which is from January 2023 to March 2026. During that phase, the roadmap outlines how government can reduce fees to $10 a day by fully implementing the building blocks of the public school system, working with all who choose to opt into a publicly funded, community planned, and accountable $10 a day system. And of course, this is where school districts have a really important role to play. The roadmap outlines the failures that relying on only nonprofits to deliver childcare presents. It's an unfortunate trend that doesn't align with the research and evidence. Places that are currently enjoy effective childcare systems have programming that is publicly planned, and a significant portion of services are publicly delivered in those systems. The $10 a day plan recommends that over time, school boards assume responsibility for delivering new childcare spaces in order to achieve a childcare system that is comparable to others that lead on the world stage. And these services could be located on or off school sites. Nonprofit providers, however, are still key players in effective systems. Our goal is to add childcare spaces, not to take away existing spaces. So nonprofits that are currently operating on school grounds could stay there to ensure that there is no loss and there is only expansion of childcare spaces within the district. But beyond that, the goal of the $10 a day roadmap and what CUPE is recommending is that any expansion of childcare programming in the district be delivered by the district directly. I'm sure you're quite familiar with these examples, but just to go through them really quickly, school districts in the Cowichan Valley, in Peace River North, in Campbell River, and Nakusp have been piloting this model of integrated care for some years now. Campbell River did expand to 7 additional sites this current year. Nakusp celebrated their childcare centers opening this past summer, and more school districts are seeing the advantages of this model of integrated before and after school care. Now, of course, while this model is in its infancy, the Ministry of Education and Child Care supports integrating before and after school care into the public school system. And visionary school districts have jumped to the opportunity to provide this model of childcare.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you in about 2 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
I'll skip past this one because you guys know this. Okay, so this is some learnings that we've learned from other school districts that have piloting this. Ways that can make it successful are, of course, public consultation and surveying of parents. This will help show you which schools are most in need of this type of childcare and which locations have the greatest demand. And then school districts, of course, need to get licensed to comply with all these regulations. You know this as well. Another piece that we've learned is to avoid calling it a pilot if you can. We've been seeing parents shying away from the word pilot. They think it's the child care services are going to end. They don't want to get rid of existing care that they already have for something that is going to end really quickly. Another thing as well is to start advertising new child care services early on. Parents have their child care arrangements often many months in advance. They need a lot of lead time to be able to move into this type of care. Even though they may prefer this type of care, they still need a lot of lead time. So those, of course, are the biggest learnings that we've learned so far. Yeah, here we go. Another thing, consider their needs as well. Pro-D days, oftentimes they need care. Spring break, oftentimes they need care. Winter break, Christmas break, they need care, sometimes even through the summer. We've seen ACUSP is operating childcare programming throughout all these school breaks. It's quite successful to them. They're really serving their community quite well. The community loves it. So that's another piece that we've learned. Yeah, and advertising. Yeah, okay, all that. Okay, great. So questions?
I'll just start by saying thank you very much for your presentation. And I do see some hands, so I'll start with Naomi.
Thank you very much for that rapid presentation. I know you had so much information.
Sorry, I had too much.
Yeah, and you can tell it's there's the bell.
You made it.
I can tell you have a real passion for this. As do I, right? And I often think, you know, as a single parent, raising my kids to, well, first of all, to find daycare, morning daycare for me. You know, if I was able to take them to the school that they were at, leave them there before school, and then know they were safe there after school, how much less stress I would have had in my life. So I'm fully supportive of it, and I'm supportive of it for a variety of reasons. And one of them being our EAs, working in the schools, not getting enough hours. Just talked to two more the other day who talked about having a second job because it's not a living wage, right? So there's lots of good reasons why to have it. So the only point I saw in here, you had mentioned that over time, the plan would be that schools assume responsibility for delivering new childcare services on and off school sites. So that's when I realized, I look at that and I think, okay, how does that work in terms of funding for us? I'm concerned about what happened is what happened when we started doing at the time that I was an educator. It was called mainstreaming, but you know, it's the funding piece. Is that going to take away from the funding about it? That's my only concern. But I totally am full on support of your presentation.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I fully agree with that. Like, we all know your operating budgets are stretched so thin. And so QPBC, what we do is we do quite a bit of lobbying at the provincial government level. We do meet with the Ministry of Education quite regularly. We meet with the Premier quite regularly as well. And this is a big piece that we're pushing to them. These programs need to be appropriately funded. School districts cannot be expected to dip into their operating funds to fund these programs. It's not sustainable. It's not going to serve our kids, our families, our communities. So yes, we are advocating to make sure that there is robust, appropriate funding that's ongoing for these types of initiatives. Because yeah, it can't come from operating costs.
Okay, I have a speakers list. I have Tom and then Tanya, and I'll add you. Anyone else?
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Tuesday, for the presentation. I really appreciate your knowledge and your passion. My family and I benefited from having a daycare at the school where I taught. And so for the years that I was teaching and raising my kids, we were driving to school every day. My wife taught around the corner.
Excuse me,
Daycare.
Tom. Sorry to interrupt you. Can you turn your camera off, please?
Camera or mic? What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
I got to start it all again Tuesday. I know.
It
I'm
takes
not
a
gonna
few
get it.
tries. We're all there.
Well,
So
good, take it
Oh,
back.
now I gotta find it over here. I just shouldn't talk. Sorry about that. So I just wanted to speak in favor of the experience of having on-site daycare. It was an incredible experience for my wife and I, and it was something that I would hope that everybody in the next couple of generations can take for granted. I also think about this project because, you know, we talk about a wage gap in Canada, and we talk about pay equity for female workers. And this is one of the areas where, when left unorganized, you really see a difference. And so for those two reasons, I really encourage you to keep up your advocacy. Yeah, from my perspective, I'll be looking to make sure that whenever we ask anyone to take care of children, that they're doing it at a living wage with reliable hours in a safe work environment, not just for them, but for the kids they're taking care of. So thank you.
okay, thanks, Tom. Tanya.
Let me turn on my camera here if I can find myself. There we go. Thank you. So for me, I just want to say that I also fully support this. I really appreciate your presentation. I think this is a really good opportunity for us to be working together advocacy wise, because as Naomi said, like I read through your notes about the child care coordinator. We still need to have reassurance from the ministry that they're going to continue to fund that position, because I'm not comfortable taking money out of our operating budget to continue to do that. And even in terms of calling it a pilot, I would love to not call them pilots. But if we don't know the money's consistently going to be there, I also don't want to lie to parents and tell them that I know that let them think that we know that this is going to continue to be sustainable, because we can't put ourselves in too much of a position where we're taking too much away from the classroom. Government has an obligation, if they're going to make this part of our ministry, that they fund it accordingly. And I think that we need to be firm and clear on that.
Fair point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Point of order.
Go ahead, Shannon. I'm sure.
Sorry.
Yeah. During the presentation, public presentations, board members are only able to ask questions.
Yeah,
of
good point.
presenters. I haven't heard a
Yeah.
couple of questions.
Thank you for that reminder. Chantel.
Sorry, could I get some clarity in that? So
Yeah, so when we have presenters, trustees are able to ask clarifying questions of the presenters. We don't need to comment or whatnot, but if you have questions for the presenters, by all means.
I hope it's relevant. It's a very relevant question to childcare, especially inclusive childcare, obviously. Thank you for your presentation. I support it, and I'm really proud of the work we've been doing here as a district, and there needs to be done more. I'm just wondering, when you talk about accessible childcare, we know that the funding really isn't there to have that one-on-one person for a lot of students who actually do need it. What do you suggest could be a good advocacy, like a joint advocacy or something like that? What are you doing at the national level or provincial level to advocate for that very specific funding that needs to happen so that students can actually attend an inclusive environment?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yeah, that is a huge piece right now. So we are connecting with the BCCPAC. I'm sure you folks know who they are. So that is a real passion project for them. That is a real piece that they are advocating as well on. And so we are in talks. We can kind of do advocacy together on the provincial level on those pieces. Those folks are getting calls daily from parents, really upset that, they finally got their child with diverse abilities into childcare. They were so excited. They lasted a week and then they were told, don't come back. So that's a real live issue that they're very aware of right now, and they're gearing up to do some advocacy. And so are we, to help support them and to maybe do a little bit of joint advocacy. But we also bring that up regularly in our meetings, that we need to have extra funding to support children with diverse abilities and support school districts to adequately support them as well.
Can I just get a clarifying question, if I may? You mean students with disabilities, right?
Yes.
When you say diverse abilities, okay. But the clarifying question is, what was the acronym you used?
Oh, the BCCPAC, so that's the
BCC PAC.
Federation.
Okay, sorry, we say it as BCC PAC, so it like hits, but
Yeah,
thank you very much. Yes, BCC PAC, yes, definitely, they're a great advocacy.
Yeah, we're supporting them. They're the I would say the experts on this. They're the parents.
Okay, well, I don't have anyone else on my speakers list, so I'll just again, on behalf of the board, say thank you very much for your presentation this evening.
Thank you all so much.
Okay, so we will move on then to item 10.2, Go by Bike BC. Joel. Yeah, you also have 10 minutes.
Because my partner and I are often double booked, my presentations are written so either one of us can give them. So with your indulgence, I'll switch to first person. So good evening, trustees, honored PUP staff, stakeholders, parents, students. My name is Joel Canfield, and with my partner Melissa Griswold, we are the co-leaders of Go by Bike BC Team Copenhagen and your City of Nanaimo volunteer park ambassadors. I will be familiar with many of you as I am one of your retired minions who was tasked with maintaining mostly obsolete computers during the dark ages of provincial education cuts. Long before I joined SD68, I served as a provincial park interpreter, delivering education programs to visitors at Rathtrevor Beach Park. Since retirement, I have completed the Cycling Embassy of Denmark's Bikeable Cities Masterclass in Copenhagen, Denmark. Melissa and I can help you increase participation in 3 interlocking bicycle programs and assist with community garbage and litter cleanups. The 3 bicycle programs are Go by Bike BC, 529 Garage, and Noack Bikes for Kids. So the Go by Bike Spring Week is scheduled for June 3rd to June 9th, and as of yesterday's organizing meeting, the kickoff event has been set for Sunday, June 2nd. Over the years, you have received numerous reports from health officers and consultants detailing the negative health effects of our sedentary lifestyles. The 2016 consultants' report included x-rays showing bone loss in young people and other evidence of diseases normally associated with old age occurring at disturbingly early ages. For this brief presentation, there is no need to duplicate that information. We are available at no cost to assist any school to form a Go by Bike team. Being retired, we have the flexibility to do very brief presentations at staff meetings or offer far more in-depth support depending on the time available to PAC meetings, specific bookings, or as a component of ProD. We would encourage trustees to attend the kickoff event of the Spring Go by Bike Week or visit a celebration station. Detailed information will be sent to you as soon as the City of Nanaimo solidifies dates and times. 529 Garage is a free anti-theft registration program that covers Canada, US, and New Zealand. You create your free account online, record your bicycle serial number, and upload pictures of your bicycle. If you are unfortunate enough to have your bike stolen, you log in and flag your bike as stolen. Don't forget to also file a police report. Fellow 529 Garage members who have the app installed on their phones can opt to receive stolen bike reports. Your VPAs, volunteer park ambassadors, have set their app to alert them to all stolen bikes reported within 25 kilometers of Nanaimo. This is why we call Garage 529 Neighborhood Watch for your bike. I've left you information so that you can contact the community policing coordinator to arrange CP volunteers. If they are unavailable, your park ambassadors can also do 529 registration. NOAC Bikes for Kids. Most of you are already familiar with Greg's fantastic Bikes for Kids program. As one of your minions, I was under the impression that SD68 seldom participated in the program. Hence, Go By Bike Team Copenhagen started arranging bike donations with our first donation to Kolai Ocean School. Since being connected to NOAC Bikes for Kids through community policing, our team has transferred our very modest stock of bikes to Greg's huge program. I'm currently volunteering with NOAC Bikes for Kids, and having participated in deliveries, I have also found that staff don't seem to be aware of the program in the schools that we visited so far. So your VPAs are available, again, in the same way that we're available for 529 Garage. We can do education events, meet with PAC groups, etc. And then the last part is sort of a bonus, environmental stewardship. As your VPAs, we go around the city of Nanaimo cleaning up parks and answering questions from the public. Not surprisingly, more people ask us about bikes than they do about our parks. And I'm not going to read the other sheet that tells you about what we can do as under environmental stewardship under the parks program. You can peruse that at your leisure. I believe I'm under 10 minutes.
You are. Thank you very much, Joel, for your presentation, and thank you for your work. And I see you brought your minion with you today.
Yes.
Thank you. Naomi.
Thanks for the presentation. I've always known your passion for the environment. Much appreciated. My question is like, so you're promoting using bikes and everything like I can. I'll understand this one day. Yeah, thanks very much. I'm wondering, like, with your promoting of bikes and, you know, Greg has got an inventory of bikes as well. My question is, do you guys offer any like bicycle road lessons? Like thinking out bicycle lanes and all those little pieces, are there lessons offered to students or even adults that want to, you know, join the Minion Club and ride the bike?
Well, that's a wonderful idea because in Victoria and Vancouver and Comox, there are actually programs to teach kids how to ride bikes safely. Comox School District has a very active program. So I could certainly help connect you with those programs so that you could possibly create a program like that here in SD68.
Follow up. Yep. All right, you go ahead, Mark. Tom, and then Mark. Tanya.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Joel, for coming out and sharing your passion for environment and active lifestyle. I rode my first e-bike this weekend at Stanley Park. I went around the seawall, and it was absolutely delightful. So thank you for all you do to bring a mode of transportation to our city. My question is around the NOAC bikes. Because am I saying that right? NOAC or NOVIC?
NOAC.
NOAC. Thank you. I dropped off some bikes at DBL, and my family had outgrown them, and they got picked up. And I'm hoping they're in other hands. So, is it set up so that if you know, if our staff, be they counselors or primary school teachers, know a kid that probably use a bike, is it the kind of thing we can reach out to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The poster that's included in the presentation material has Greg's phone number on it. It's as easy as that. You make a phone call.
And as a follow-up, you know, you rode bikes for years to our schools, and I think this is a huge part of our strategic plan around healthy living and creating a healthy workspace. Couple things we could do. What do you think was lacking? I don't want to pull the whole list, but was there a couple things that would have made it easier for you to ride a bike? In a practical sense, facilities, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll stick to facilities. For example, in preparing to come here, I had to think about the fact that when I got here, it was likely to be pouring rain, and there's nowhere to wait. So, and there's nowhere to walk a bike other than a tree. So that means that I've got to be thinking about where I'm going to secure the bike and where I'm going to wait during the closed meeting. Right? If you don't have a car, you don't have a waiting location. So you have to look at everything you do from the point of view, what's going to make it really easy for somebody to come here on a bike. Are they going to have a safe, secure place to lock it up? And you really have to go out on a bike sometime, which we're more than happy to do with staff or trustees. Much the same way that we do bicycle tours for families with Parks and Recreation. So we can help you see the perspective from using a bicycle.
That's great, Joel. Thanks for your work.
Mark, you're up.
Hey. Oh, hi, Joel. Thank you to you and Melissa for heading up this. I have a question about some of the challenges and maybe one of the successes you could share with us. I've heard so many stories, but I'd like to hear from you, share with us, because I know that there was some interesting things in the community over the last 6 months that have been, you know, a little difficult for you, and I know that you had one big success recently. Why don't you share?
Oh, okay. Now that I'm starting to block up. Sorry. Some of the challenges that we've had out in the community is that the community has become very hostile, larger and larger percentage, and very hostile to bike lanes. And so, as an example, the volunteer vest that I wear and that Melissa will sometimes wear, most of the other volunteer park ambassadors won't wear their vests because there's a lot of hostility. And we, on the other hand, choose. I always wear the vest. So somebody doing a death threat is equally motivating for me to be out there as someone thanking. And we've been having increasing success here with bike valets. You'll notice that there's a bike valet service at the Thursday night markets, back bike valet service at the Canada Day, big reconciliation event. With the Canada Day one, what was especially neat about having a bike valet service is that the tiny space that was used in the parking lot allowed the entire Maffeo Sutton remaining portion to be used for handicap parking. So those people who could only come down by vehicle because of mobility issues suddenly found they were able to. And everyone with legs at work, including old seniors, just walked from the Gordon Street Parkade. So we have these two competing things that are happening. We have fierce resistance to cycling, but we also have 50 plus age people just driving e-bike sales through the roof, and just a whole variety of parents adopt. So everything that you can do to improve your facilities with bike racks, good ones that won't just lift out of the ground, all those sort of things are really bad. Sorry, bad one.
Big thanks.
Okay, go to Tanya.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Joel, I'm just wondering about the, camera. Sorry. Thought I turned it on, but I didn't. The registration program, the 529 garage, what's the success rate been in terms of being able to actually find bikes after they've been stolen?
Oh, we recover thousands of bikes.
Oh, that's good.
Basically, the problem is that because bike thieves know that most people don't register their bikes, they know their odds of being charged are near zero. And as attested by the fact that the RCMP lost property area is just swamped in bikes, when they recover them, the RCMP normally can't return them.
Mm.
And so it's really, really important that we flip that on its head. And so we need to do bike registration in the school, get people and families at a young age accustomed that you just automatically register. So that'll be another part of one of my missions, will be to recruit bicycle stores. But that's another topic.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Well, thank you again, Joel, on behalf of the board for your presentation this evening.
Thank you. I think I'm toast.
Enjoy your ride home.
Yes, and actually that's a great way to cool down and just shed all stress.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, and you're welcome to stay, obviously. There's no correspondence this evening, so we'll move on to committee reports. 12.1, the business committee. Yeah.
Like, subject to insurance that the expansion will be on without.
Do we have a seconder? Diana? You want to motivate the motion?
That's of the programs that we've had at UC to allow.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 12.2 with the Education Committee. Chantel.
That the Board of Education of School District Number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, update the Policy Committee's current work plan to include a Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion JEDI policy that will replace the current inclusion policy.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Naomi, would you like to motivate?
Yes, so the inclusion policy was on our work plan to be updated quite a while ago. And we have a very big work plan, I will admit. But when we were talking about JEDI and that very good work that's coming forward, it includes inclusion. And so inclusion itself is actually not just a standalone item. As we know this now, I believe that including justice, equity, and diversity with the inclusion policy can really help a more robust policy that is foundational to the work that we do in the future.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll start a speakers list. Charlene is first.
Thank you. Just gonna bring this up here. So looking at this motion, I was a little bit taken aback at first. And so I just want to talk about some of the history about how far this district has come. This district has been a leader when it comes to inclusive practices, going back quite a long time. In fact, when the inclusion policy was first put in place, it was the first of its kind in the province. And while the name might not be, today's standard, or even back then, as others have noted during the Education Committee, the most helpful terminology, the intent of that policy has always been JEDI. And so I really want to start with that historical piece of just acknowledging that that's always been that policy's intent as an umbrella foundational statement. Going from there, when I look at the board motion report, recognizing that there's already a motion that placed this policy on the policy committee's work plan. The intent of that was to ensure that we were addressing systemic racism and ensuring that people of color, and not just those who are white appearing, are influencing the content of that policy. And so that looked like a significant amount of consultation. There was a significant amount of input from the prior board, and I'd like to commend them for taking that on during some times that were finally raising issues that needed to be raised in the world around race. And that led to a request for proposal to go out, which is the work that you see now and our board sees now coming to fruition. That was spoken about, bringing a report back to the Safe Schools Committee, the recognition that the RFP's intent was to bring back a process that brought all of the voices to the table to help us update this policy appropriately. That was the intent of the RFP, along with assessing the system itself. And I think that that's really important to include. It hasn't just been sitting on the work policy being ignored. There's been a significant amount of thought and work that went into how we got there, including making sure that the policy committee was reported to with the process on how to update it in the most effective manner to ensure those voices are there. And so I appreciate the intent of this policy, and I'm going to support it, but I couldn't support this without acknowledging the reason that we are where we are today. To me, this is just acknowledging what the intent was when we first set out to take on the JEDI work through the request for proposal process that the previous board approved. So I speak in favor of the motion, but thought that thorough history is important for this board to be aware of. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, don't see any. I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 13, Mark, the budget thought exchange feedback.
Thank you, Chair. And so on page 27, the agenda, the feedback is there. I do want to just express appreciation for our shorthanded communications team for assisting putting together. A couple of things that I do want to just note is this is the second year that we tried to kind of purposely dig some deeper thoughts out of individuals in the community based on the budget. So an example is if you ask, do you support the environment, and do you support mental health, and do you support students? It's like you're going to get a yes on every single one. So we did try to put that out there a little bit. And one of the things that we continue to do, and what we're going to be doing for next year, is we're really going to try to seek our public's input on how we can provide more education in the process as we go. So recently spoke to a group of DPAC members, engaged individuals in the community, and it was all about just the basis of how the school district gets funded, because it's actually not very well known. We're obviously in the thick of it, but you know what the operating dollars are. You know, the fact that property taxes don't actually go to school districts, like that in itself is hardly known. And so it's I would say it's time for a bit of a revamp after this process for next year to try to dig deeper to get kind of more direct feedback. So just want to just put what we're thinking there. I mean, you can see the feedback. I think the themes are fairly distant from previous years and what we're seeing, mental health, you know, staff, schools, and obviously reasonably okay turnout. Nice to see our staff and our parents getting back to us. So happy to answer any questions. One thing I do want to say though, and I say this to every group that will listen, is the feedback that people are providing doesn't disappear. And what I mean by that is, on occasion, we will see examples where someone is asked, it's often facilities or things like that, that you will start to see come out, but maybe not in the preliminary budget process. It comes out in where learning services is changing its priorities. It's coming out when the board has a surplus. And so we come into September and we say, hey, board, not only is this aligned with your strategic plan, we heard from our communities that this is where additional dollars you know, flow. Because the other part of a survey to the community is it doesn't, you know, this doesn't get all of the voices, but also is that what does the board do if it doesn't align with the strategic plan? And so there are some certain realities and limitations on what we do with this, but it is important. And so I want to, it's a lot of caveats to add to that report, but you got the sense of what our community is looking at. The last thing that we really wanted to do, and unfortunately at the board meeting or the business committee meeting, we'll be bringing you, I believe, some preliminary numbers, is again, we're a growing district, which is, we are very happy to be a growing district, but the ministry did not go above and beyond what was the basic funding required for the collective agreement provisions that for raises for our staffs. And so we will not be anticipating any additional inflationary dollars. So any inflation has to be paid for by increased enrollment. So that those numbers are going to be coming soon. But what that ultimately means is we don't anticipate any excess dollars to be reinvested. Obviously, new kids, so our secondaries are going to be flush with additional staffing because we have formulas. So new kids creates new money, creates new staffing, but that's an automatic. So there won't be anything left over, we anticipate at this point, but we'll be there in about 2 weeks to come and report back to the board.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Tom.
You know, correct me if I'm off point here, but was there some announcement about another family inflation fund coming out through us? And I guess maybe that's not what you're referring to when you talk about inflation costs. Yeah, so whatever you know about that.
Sure, and thank you, Karen. Could you please add that to the business agenda? Because on our list it wasn't there, but yeah. So the ministry has announced. So last year there was the Student Family Affordability Fund, and what happened is there was a 1 year funding only. Then this year what they did was they said, okay, we're going to fund food in schools. So we expanded food offering, and then they realized there's still a big gap, and so this is the paying for field trips, paying for school supplies, paying for backpacks, paying for whatever it happens to be. And the ministry has realized that schools are really the places that know our kids the best to be able to support families in that way. So we are getting money. It's less than half of what we got last year because the food division of the food is essentially already covering half. And so we have a little bit of surplus left over from the previous year that we're going to continue to use, and we'll have a report with the exact dollars, but there will be money to support kids. It's not money to support schools though. So it's not, hey, principal, buy school supply, like buy your own internal supplies with it. It's
with a conduit.
Yes, we are the conduits. We are not the recipients of it. Now, granted, we can go on field trips and pay ourselves. You know, we charge someone for a field trip, we can say, great, we're going to subsidize your field trip, and then the money comes back for that. But that's still presenting to an individual, not the school district. But it will be at the business community.
Fantastic. It's another great chance for staff to practice our equity.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll say thank you, Mark. And we'll move on to item 14. Laura, preliminary strategic plan. I'm looking forward to this one.
Are you?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Good evening. I'm going to provide you with a bit of an update on the progress of the creation or renewal of the board's strategic plan. And as you know, the board's been on a journey in this regard since the summer. So since August, the board has had several working sessions to create a draft plan. That plan has been out for public consultation. And once that public consultation wrapped up, that feedback has been reviewed and provided back to the board via the business committee. And so staff and the board have been working together to continue to refine the writing of this plan. So a little more specifically, staff has reviewed the feedback and has themed the feedback to these themes, and they're no particular order, but we've themed them around mental health, enhanced facilities, teaching and learning approaches, as a grouping, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, or JEDI, morale and the workplace, Indigenous learning, gardens and green initiatives, transportation, Wi-Fi and technology, and partnerships and communications. And this theming really helped to better understand the feedback, as well as really helped to analyze the feedback. So holistically, the staff and the board has looked at the current draft board goals and objectives alongside these consultation themes, alongside staff recommendations and rationale, alongside departmental operational planning. So this part of the process really helped ensure that the board vision and actions are attuned essentially to our NLPS community. So overarching recommendations through the process were the alignment of the strategic plan with the Enhancing Student Learning Report to ensure coherence and effectiveness, to establish clear metrics for the objectives aligning with the board work plan and the ESSL report and departmental operational plans, and also, and lastly, to narrow the focus of the board strategic plan overall and encouraging the board to really evaluate the number of goals and objectives. So through these collaborative efforts, the aim is to develop a strategic plan that's not only responsive to the needs of our community, but also aligns with the broader educational mandates and our organizational objectives. So moving forward, and next step, the preliminary draft of the new strategic plan is complete now with content, not in format, but with content. And it's slated for presentation in its final form at the April Business Committee meeting. After which time, via our policy 2.17 public participation, that preliminary plan will go out to public consultation once again in May. The consultation feedback will be brought back to the June Business Committee meeting for consideration and discussion. And hopefully we have the strategic plan adopted later in June. And of course, then we move forth with gearing up and informing the system around the new strat plan and celebrating and all the good things.
Thank you, Laura. So maybe I'll just start us off. First, I want to acknowledge the work that staff has done to help us get to this point. And I also want to acknowledge the work that all of you our trustees have done to help us get to this point. And in terms of where we go, so right now there isn't a specific recommendation. This is just an information sheet to provide an update. And then we look forward to sort of moving it forward to the April Business Committee. Any questions? Start our list. So go ahead, Mark.
And staff for the excellent work over the last little while. It's been hard work for trustees. It's been hard work for staff, and certainly the new role that you find yourself in, Laura. So thank you so very much. It's refreshing. Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, sorry, Tom, you're on my list.
Thank you, Chair. Aside from the fact that you've helped me write my admin 477 class this year, it's been really exciting to watch the practice of what I've been learning here, and it's been really cool. And one of the things I've been looking at lately, and it connects back to something that you and Gary shared, was the graphic display of the strategic plan. And I know that you and Gary have been working on one in terms of your own graduate work. And is there any hope that this strategic plan might get a graphic iteration? Because I really love the idea of that being able to go out visually into schools and be a reminder, a really quick reminder, because we often don't have time to absorb the depth and the details. So I'm just hoping that we can connect those dots, and maybe I actually know that there's online, there's apps that do this kind of stuff for you now. Aside, like someone had some epic talent when they did that one, but I just think it's a great way to kind of bring the depth of what we've put together here and make it really accessible to our partners.
Cool. Thanks, Tom. Anybody else? Okay, I'll say thanks, Laura, for the update, and we look forward to seeing it come back to us in April. So we don't have any new business this evening. For information, we have the board motions report and trustee committee reports on starting on page 36. And don't believe we have any questions that have been submitted, Karen. So I'll seek a motion to adjourn. Naomi, and I'm going to go on this side. Tanya. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you Tuesday. I know you're from Federal, but come back anytime.
It's you in April, right?
Yeah.